I may have forgotten to hit the loop button. I'm in a mood, so I'm OLED Ed Fries. This is my tag team partner, Astrid Pizarro. That episode of NXT was really, really good until about the last 5 minutes.
Yep.
And then all hell broke loose.
Pretty much.
Before we even get to the main event, I'm going to literally read out in the Slack chat the discussion had with Astrid. 10:04. You've got to be shitting me. 10:04 in 25 seconds. They wouldn't have her win, right? 10:05. I quit. I refuse to do the show. I'm here under protest because there's nobody else to help with Astrid with the show tonight. So I'm here, but I'm filing a protest with NXT because this is bullshit.
I have no words. I really don't.
I have lots of words. None of them are appropriate, but I have many words.
You know, your best friend just won the Battle Royal. Let's celebrate her.
We've got In the Hot Seat podcast joining us. Thank you very much for joining us. We've got Joshua Joseph in the chat saying, I like this weight video. Dope stuff from our local. They are fantastic. Parrish has done a fantastic job creating some of this great content. Mark says he's ready. I said, so am I, because I'm full of piss and vinegar right now. We've got Sean Cena. Hello, hello. Do we start with...
I was gonna say, do we start with the main event and have your rant and just go all the way, all the way backwards, I guess?
No, you know what? No. I'm going to hope that maybe by the end of the show, I've been able to rationalize it and calm down a bit, and maybe I'll be okay with it.
Bobby is the market 647. Okay.
I doubt it. If you could, splice that with, I'm going to be okay about it, spliced 2 hours later, Ed ranting upon the Let's go ahead and start with the beginning, because the beginning of this episode was phenomenal. Out of this world phenomenal. I have 2 paragraphs of notes about this promo here. Baron Corbin... Well, we'll get to Sean Cena's point real quick. Is Andre Chase injured being repackaged? No, I don't think it's any of that. I think they're giving Andre Chase some well-enjoyable time off as they try to figure out what they're going to do with him next. The best word I can say is, I'll steal it from Tom Collahue, creative hiatus. I don't think they want him in NXT anymore, because I think they want to bring him to Raw, but I don't think Raw is ready for him. And I don't think he's going to SmackDown. I think if he's going anywhere, I think he's going to Raw. Because they have 3 hours and they have time for his shtick there. Which is why we've seen Drew Gulak, which is why we've seen Duke Hudson, which is why we've seen Dempsey. I think it's going to end up in a tag team match. I think eventually we're going to see Chase come back. But I think this is going to be Duke realizing he has absolutely no control over everything going on. But we can get to that more when we get to the Duke segment and... Oh, the main event. God, the main event. I'm going to pull over my notes here because Baron opens the show talking about the ego of the new school, which is why I've titled the episode, because I titled it as soon as I heard this. Old school Baron Corbin versus new school NXT.
Oh no, Mark, don't make...
You might not want to watch the rest of the show then. Because it's going to be about 2 hours. It's going to be about 2 hours of me shitting on Thea Hale. So, Baron Corbin talks about how his group of people built this company, especially NXT. That this is the house that they built. That they're the ones who pack 16 grand inside of the Barclays Center for a takeover. They're the ones who put this thing on the map. They're the ones who have world champions headlining and main eventing WrestleManias. And this young group of talent doesn't understand respect. And that they're bitching that they're not called up. Or they're talking about how they need to be called up. He talks about how he didn't have the chance to deal with the past class of draftees. But he's by sure as hell going to have his hands on the next class. I want to focus on that one phrase. He's going to have his hands on the next class. I will say, this time next year, every single person Baron Corbin works with goes up in the draft or is up before the draft with the people Baron Corbin works with. We know that's going to be Ilya Dragunov potentially next week. I don't think it's going to happen next week. I think that's the match that we get at whatever event they drop in between now and the end of July. I think that's when we get Ilya versus Baron. Because obviously Braun Breaker's not, as Braun Strowman would say, not done with with Ilya Dragunov just yet. Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes. Those are the 3 right off the bat that I guarantee, as long as they're not in championship contention, are all going to be called up next year. Braun Breaker is the next one, and I think they'll probably have him work in tandem with Baron Corbin for a little while. Because I think they're going to go with the storyline of Baron can get along with a Braun Breaker. He gets it. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Also, I'd love to see Braun Breaker versus Baron Corbin. That just sounds fun.
Mm-hmm.
He says that Mello is part of the problem, but he's not the only problem. But since he's the champion, everything starts with him. Which I loved. I absolutely love that. He says that Mello got a taste of the main roster reality, and he's not ready for it. He calls Mello weak. He calls the entire locker room weak, and what was the other word he used? Soft. Out comes Ilya Dragunov. And I'm like, ooh, things just got fun. Ilya comes out and says, I just wanted to introduce myself. I don't know who you were talking about, who you saw backstage, but it sure as hell wasn't me. I'm not scared of you. I'm not soft, and I'm not weak. And if you need to have any other proof, just look at Battlegrounds 10 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
To which he shows off a bruise he got at Battlegrounds, to which Baron Corbin says, cool, you've got one bruise. I'm going to give you many bruises.
And I'll cover you in those. Yep.
Corbin talks about how he's wrestled at 6 WrestleManias. I wish he would have said that I was the Andre the Giant Battle Royal winner.
Right. I was waiting to hear that too.
Because he said 6 WrestleManias and he talked about retiring Kurt Angle. And I was surprised that in that he didn't mention winning the Andre the Giant.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was his first taste of the main roster as an NXT talent. That was the last thing he did in NXT, was win the Battle Royal. Because he entered it as an NXT talent and then never came back. Ilya says that he's first in line for Mello after what he's done. To which Baron Corbin says, this is the attitude that I need to get rid of. I'm first in line, and I get to jump the line because I'm a star, and I'm the biggest star in this building. Doesn't seem like Carmelo Hayes was there, so he might have been right. Ilya says you're targeting him to make a point. I'm targeting him for the NXT Championship. And he challenges him to a match tonight, which doesn't happen, unfortunately. After Ilya leaves, Baron Corbin gets attacked by Trick Williams. Wow. What? Dude, this was an amazing opening segment.
Yeah. The other things, like, I was not expecting a response so quickly, because usually, like, with the heels, you cannot take a little bit longer to, like, know why they're here. So to, like, get it the week after and get him to open the show and, like, right away give us the answer, that was unexpected. I also love the part of what he said is like, I'm gonna have them regret that they signed a W contract. I was like, this is the Baron Corbin that I used to love watching, not only on my TV but live in person as well. And even then, when he lists like his accomplishments, he said, the retired Kurt Angle, the WrestleMania, and the last one he said, the last man to pin Roman Reigns. And saying that, to me, it's a great way to end with that one, is that exclamation point of like, I'm the last one. Like, a lot of people don't mention that, and they overpass that as well. But yeah, I love that part of like him also mentioning FCW, because it doesn't get mentioned often that before it was NXT, it was FCW. I remember watching it on my cable because I have been a Florida resident. I'm like one of the people that got to see little bits and pieces here and there of FCW before it got revamped to NXT. And even, like I said, just being there, he was one of the few people that I enjoyed watching there. And I was like, I love everything about this guy. I loved everything, and I wanted more for him in NXT. And years later, now I'm getting it, it seems. But it's amazing to think about, like, seeing it from how he was there to how he is now. The only thing I would like, that Lone Wolf pack, maybe, but that would be the only thing that would make it like a cherry on top for me right now.
I mean, not all of them needed to know how it was done, but it was nice to see the return of Baron Corbin with a little bit of fire and a little bit of anger and a little bit of direction. Because don't get me wrong, I loved Broke Corbin. Broke Corbin was fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved Happy Corbin when he first got all the money and he was doing all the things. And then it lost its luster and it lost its charm.
Yeah.
I loved Constable Corbin. When WWE blamed him for being the problem with the ratings, and they used him as a scapegoat and basically fired him from Constable Corbin. I love the fact that this dude planted Becky Lynch with the End of Days.
Yeah. Amazing.
And the Lone Wolf is probably one of the better NXT gimmicks, bar none. Like, the entrance, the feel, the early days where he was fighting jobbers and they were counting down his matches in seconds, not minutes, seconds, to the moment he won. There was just something special about that. That was fantastic. Thea Hale then comes out of the gym looking like me after NXT Battlegrounds. She's beaten. She's angry. She's tired. She's a little bit sore, as you can tell. Duke Hudson tries to get in her way. She claims that they're toughening her up. She goes ahead and puts a move on Duke, and she feels like she breaks his hand. And she says that she's ready for the Battle Royal. Oh, I wish she wasn't.
The training helped. See, you gotta thank Gulak and Dempsey for that.
Fuck Gulak and Dempsey then. We get the Schism making their way to the ring. Joe Gacy takes off his helmet and hands it to Ava Raine, and then he goes to the back to allow them to do their thing. They're going to take on the Diamond Mine, but first, Ilya Dragunov's been attacked backstage by Braun Breaker. I'm going to cover this now because we're not going to remember to cover it at the end of the show. Braun Breaker says the reason he attacked Ilya Dragunov is because Ilya Dragunov had the guts to say that he's the biggest, baddest dog in the fight, and that he's, the most intense in NXT, and he didn't like that. And so he's going to start showing all these people who's boss. And I'm like, sure you are, Braun. Go lose another match.
You and your questionable tan. Sure thing.
And his real questionable beard, too. Like, I know I have a questionable beard, but it's just because I haven't shaved in a while. I'm also not on television like he is. I'm on the internet. There's a difference.
Yeah.
We get the match between the Schism and Diamond Mine, and this is pretty good. To be honest with you, it's a pretty decent match. But in a statement that you're going to hear often throughout the night, it was a really good, solid TV match. But nothing of substance happened.
Nope.
It was a good match. Both sides got to put on their stuff. Ivy Nile basically almost tapped out Ava Raine until Jagger Reed came in. And then Jagger Reed basically got tapped out by Ivy Nile. But the girls can't hit the guys, so he gets put down. Ava Raine takes the headbutt and goes ahead and gets the 1-2-3. I disagree with Mark. Mark says, hated the ending. Can we please have Ava Raine actually wrestle, please? I loved it. I thought it was great. Ava did a little bit in the ring. Not a lot. But you got to remember, she got signed 1.5 years, 2 years ago when a lot of these other girls get signed. Then she immediately got hurt. She's been working a lot of the Florida loops, trying to get her in-ring acumen up. I love the fact that they're not rushing her into the ring to just set her up to fail as an in-ring competitor. They're putting her in spots, small and short, to make sure she succeeds. Right out the gate, she has had a gimmick from the word go on television. And you can count this back to the person in the hoodie or to the day she was revealed. Either way, from the moment we knew that Ava Raine was on our TV screens, she's had a character and a story starting the moment she came in. Which isn't always the case. And she's never been left behind. The Schism story has been a solid part of this show since she debuted. She's probably had the best treatment of any of the lower tier women's wrestlers in NXT since she debuted. She's had a much better treatment than Ivy Nile. She's had a much better treatment than Thea Hale. She's had a much better treatment than Elektra Lopez. And Elektra Lopez was in one of the best stories in NXT. But as soon as that story stopped, so did her push. And she disappeared.
Pretty much.
Mark comes in and says, yeah, I get that there's no rushing her and not to get her to actually do something. But she's annoying. You know what? Sometimes heels are allowed to be annoying in the ring. Not all female talent who are set to be wrestlers need to wrestle. There's a reason why Scarlett is a perfectly trained and capable wrestler that WWE wants to have no part in ever having her in the ring unless they absolutely have to. They've tried her out on dark matches and they don't like what they see, so they know better than to put her out there. The same thing with Ava Raine. At least they're treating her well. She means something to that group. And I'd rather 100 Tia Hales and Ava Raines than one Ivy Nile and Elektra Lopez. Because Ivy Nile feels like a joke. She's part of the Diamond Mine, but is she? Yeah. When she's there, they focus on her, but when she's missing, she's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate to think about because Ivy's one of those people, like we saw her today with like the way she did her submission, the way that, that she, I think she German suplex Brutus, if I'm not mistaken, and like you could hear the crowd was so amazed by it. And it's one of those things like, how can we not see this more often? I wouldn't mind seeing that more often from Ivy, but we don't get it. I get Mark's point of like kind of being annoyed that Ava doesn't do much. I get it. But I feel like the same way I'd rather protect her and not have her do too much and then look terrible on TV and having her grow little by little, especially with the people that she's learning from. Um, I know the ending. I don't want to say I was annoyed with the ending. I wish it would have been not cheating, not the cheating part. Would have been like more like wrestling from her in that aspect before she won. But I don't mind the ending because it furthers that storyline because we're not gonna have the faces win so quickly. We need to further this a little bit longer, and then that's what they had to win as well. So I get it how it is. And one thing I loved about her gimmick, which I guess by the way, if anybody missed that part when we had the show going on at first, I feel like she's had something set from the get go, and that's why I liked about it. And she's one of those people that she doesn't have to wrestle or doesn't have to do much for her to do what she's doing and for her role to be as important as it is right now in the group. Because if you see her, like for example, if you compare Schism to Diamond Mind, she is not in the same position as Ivy Nile is. Ivy can be absent from there and we may miss her, but if Ava's it's gone from ringside, it'll feel strange because she's that part of like that important to the group itself. And I wish Ivy was in the same level as Ava of importance in that aspect to their group. Because tonight we got to see it like the guys showed off their strength. Ivy showed off her strength and her, her agility there, and I wish I could have seen more from it. Because I feel like that was just a teaser. I wanted more from that, and we didn't get much. I definitely wanted more from the girls in the match in itself, but I figured they were probably just protecting Ava, and I in my mind I already knew they were not going to do much anyway. So.
And like I said, I'm not trying to sit here and win people over and make people see things my way. My opinion is X. Mark has his opinion. We can agree to disagree. Like, yeah, Mark says, okay, you won me over. My thing is to not so much win people over, but to make to present a different view. And to say, at least they're doing this. And I think the one thing that people forget is we all look at Ava Raine and go, she's Mini Rock. And we have to look at her and go, she's the first Ava Raine. And maybe she's not going to take to the wrestling ring in the wrestling sense like Rocky did. But if she can continue being a dominant force on the microphone, and she can continue being a dominant force as the sidekick to Joe Gacy, and being a vital part of that, because that promo that we hear later on, it's because of the things that Ava is saying that gets through to Joe. Yes, Dyad's there too, and they're doing their part. But Ava's side by side with Joe since the moment she came in. When Tia's missing from Andre Chase University segments, it feels weird. When Ava's missing from Schism segments that are more than just Joe Gacy, it feels weird. When Ivy Nile's not there with the Diamond Mine, it doesn't feel odd at all. And that's a problem that they've created because they've made her not feel as important as they need to. Mark Talks Wrestling. I think you're right, as Rock is my idol. I have to have someone from him in WWE. I have personal expectations, and I know I should. It's fine to expect things from her, but you just have to remember that just because somebody is a great athlete doesn't mean that they're going to produce great athletes. It also doesn't mean that a great athlete is going to be able to go from one thing to the other. Just because LeBron James is a fantastic basketball player who can also play football at a high level doesn't mean that he's better than Michael Jordan, who played basketball at the highest level and then couldn't play baseball to save his life. It's just because somebody can do one thing doesn't mean that anybody else in their family can. And it's the same thing with Shaw Guerrero. Shaw Guerrero got ran out of this business because she wasn't Eddie Guerrero. Mm-hmm. Because she couldn't wrestle and fans didn't like it and she wasn't as good on the microphone as he was. Yep. And she basically got run out of the business. Like, for a better... You saw the FCW with her in it. You know what I'm talking about when I talk about how Shaw wasn't well received.
Yeah. Her Lady Gaga giveaway wasn't helping either. But that's why I think another reason why they also don't mention that she's the rock starter on screen. And just like, for example, they kind of did that with Charlotte when Charlotte first started. It's like, try not to mention Rick because of like, I don't want to say it this way, but it just like they don't want to associate them together because they're not going to be the same person exactly. You know, The Rock's The Rock. Might she inherit some of his talent? Sure, but she's not going to sound exactly like he is. And not only that, but she's a woman. It's definitely not going to be exactly the same as she progresses as a wrestler. So I think that's probably the main reason why when they have the women come in, they have them and tell them don't have that relationship like on screen. If you notice, like from the beginning, we said they have hinted at it. They give us different hints of like she's the rock starter. So if you don't know, you won't know by the hints. But at the same time, they haven't mentioned it on air, saying like plainly like Charlotte Flair is Ric Flair's daughter, because I think they don't want it to be like measured in that aspect because she's still new. I think maybe down the road, perhaps as she grows, they might mention it. But I think right now it's best for her because it just helps her grow as an individual and not having to be like connected to him and have people expect something out of her because she's the Rock's daughter. And I think that's a good thing to have as well because you don't have that certain pressure like you have to perform like him because she's not him. Definitely is not. She might end up being like Charlotte, who's better than her father. You never know, but you have to give her time too.
The other thing I want to talk about with that is Charlotte. When they realized what they had with Charlotte, they went all in on the Ric Flair thing, as they should. Because they knew what they had, they knew she was a star, and she was okay with it. Because her and her dad are a lot closer than maybe Ava and The Rock are. We don't know what the relationship between Simone and The Rock and Dwayne is. So, and I'm not saying it's bad. It could be fantastic. I don't know. Which is more to the point of we don't bring it up until NXT does. Like, but I just because she doesn't wrestle doesn't mean that she's not doing anything of value, because I think she's more valuable to them as a talker and as an outside presence as a manager than she'll ever be in the ring. And if she never picks it up in the ring, but she can continue doing the things she's doing, female valets have had tremendous luck in becoming huge stars in this business. Miss Elizabeth is one of the most renowned women in the business. She never once, I think she was in one match maybe, but she was never an in-ring talent for the most part. Like, she may have done a match or two, but never anything serious. Sunny was never really an in-ring talent, but that woman, and yes, her post WWE stuff and locker room stuff,
a different story.
But she was one of the biggest stars in the world at the time that she was there, and she didn't have to compete in the ring. Ava can become a star just by being associated with them, as long as she continues developing all aspects of her character.
Plus, I was like, think about it this way too. We had ladies in NXT who have been valets and managers for the most part. They gone to the main roster and they have outlasted the guys that they were in the group in. Like Carmella, even Alexa, if you go back to NXT, they were mostly managers and valets. So it's like when you saw the guys getting released, you're like, oh, they're next. But no, they've been more successful than the guys have been in the roster so far. So it's like, so you never know what might end up happening. It's like, we know, like we said before, the diet is leaving soon. So what is it going to be between, Gacy and Ava moving forward without them as well? You never know. So it's like, you see people a certain way now, but, get them time. You never know where you're going to see them.
Yep. We then get a Stax visiting Tony D'Angelo in the Slammer. Tony D'Angelo tells us that they at least got him Peacock so he can see it the next day. To which I ask him, is NXT available the next day on Peacock? Oh,
Yeah.
it is. Okay. Because I know Raw and SmackDown is a 30-day wait because of Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was curious if it was the same thing with NXT.
Nope, I use them for my reviews.
Okay. They talk about who the Rat could potentially be. They make a lot of other references to a lot of other random things. It's funny, but it's not important. They talk about who the Rat is, and Stack says that he thinks it's Gallus, and Tony D tells him to just stick with his gut and that it's probably Gallus, to which obviously means it's everybody but Gallus. Gallus is absolutely not going to be who it is, because they've plainly spelled out that it's Gallus, so it's absolutely not Gallus.
I like it. They mentioned, was it Legado? They mentioned one as one of the groups too, and I thought that was funny.
Yeah, they mentioned a whole bunch of different things, and they mentioned Legado. I was like, oh, nice touch. They still mentioned them. Good to know. We then get another backstage segment with Von Wagner in the waiting room for his therapy session. And we see scenes of 2 or 3 other therapists who have tried to get Von Wagner to open up and whatnot. Prison Time with Tony D'Angelo.
Prison Break.
Prison Break, Season 6.
Yeah.
But we do get Von Wagner, and Von says, you know what, enough's enough, especially after he sees the guy leaving in tears, crying his eyes out. By the way, who looks suspiciously like Griff Garrison. I'm just going to say. I don't know if he's under contract or not anymore, but he looks suspiciously like Griff Garrison, didn't he?
Yeah. It took me a double take. It was like, I was about to write my notes, and I was like, wait, what? And then you said it, and I was like, okay, it wasn't just me.
And he says he's going to leave. There's no way he's doing this. He's not crying with some dude. And out walks the therapist. I'm just going to say this. I'll show up for therapy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know you would.
I mean, all right, so for the gimmick, yes, I'd show up for therapy. In reality, I would not be able to have therapy with a therapist like this. I wouldn't. No. I'm not opening up with all of my deepest, darkest thoughts and secrets to somebody like that. I think it's a bad idea if you're opening up the deepest parts of your soul to somebody that you're physically attracted to, and they're being paid to listen and not being with you to learn about you for you. Sorry, that's my public service announcement. I gotta put up this again. Mark says he is now going to therapy. Ladies and gentlemen, a therapist. I don't know what to call her. Like, I honestly, I was expecting Dr. Shelby. I really was.
Me too.
I was hoping for Dr. Shelby. This is a way to go. I don't like this way, but it's a way to go. By the way, does she or does she not look surprisingly in a lot like Sophia Cromwell?
She also reminded me of the girl from, I know she's in AW now. Is it Harley? I think I know she's married to Zion Quinn. She reminded me of her, a little bit. So, yeah.
As my note says, Vaughn threatens to leave, but then the therapist is a hot chick, and he goes in alone with a wink.
At least he shows some personality, though.
Agreed. This was a step in the right direction. It wasn't where I was hoping this was going to go last week when I was excited about it. But, again, they're trying. I give them an A for effort. They're trying. We next get Dani Palmer versus Blair Davenport in one of the worst renders in NXT history. This is the best version of it because the NXT thing covers up Dani Palmer, which they might as well name Double Dani Palmer. I'm sorry. That's the only thing I can see in that entire render for her. I message Astrid before this match starts, and I go, if this match is more than 3 minutes, it's gone too long. The match ends, and my first words out to her after I see the finish is, this match went too long. She goes, I didn't even bother to time it. I go, I went back and looked. It's 3 minutes and 2 seconds, and it's still a minute too long. And let me defend myself here. I'm fine with Dani Palmer getting offense in. This should have been a moment for Blair Davenport to destroy Dani Palmer. Like, utterly destroy. Like Baron Corbin destroy. 30, 40 seconds tops. The fact that Dani Palmer got any offense in this match is a bit of a disappointment. The fact that Dani Palmer lasted 3 minutes and 2 seconds is a bit of a disappointment. Like, I get they want to build Dani Palmer, and you can continue to build Dani Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this was an opportunity to have Blair look like the absolute badass that she's supposed to look like, that you're building her to look like, by destroying somebody who doesn't matter if they lose in 30 seconds. Right?
Yeah, and the good thing about Dani is like she's so new that she can easily recover from it. If it was somebody like a Roxanne, that I would have been like crap. Like her in 30 seconds, I would have been like huge. So yeah, I think with her it would have been a good timing for the match to be even shorter.
We're not talking about 3-minute warning. Rest in peace, Rosie and Jamal. I think one of them is still alive. No, both of them are gone. One of them was Umaga.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like Rosie and Jamal. I'm like, one of them is Umaga, and then there's the other one. They're both from the NOI family, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, like I just think it should have been a squash. I really do. And like this was a squash. I think it could have been more of a squash. And again, I don't want to rag on Dani Palmer and make it be like, oh, she needs to lose and she needs to lose fast.
She said it's Thea for you. Mm-hmm. There you go.
Stop bringing up that name. Dana Brooke arrives, to which I go ahead and tell Chris Parrish that his favorite athlete has arrived in NXT to become in the Battle Royal. Tiffany talks about the women's division. She looks fantastic. I have no idea what she said, because honestly it felt like she was talking in circles. I didn't know if she was a heel or a face in this segment, and it's bad. Because she gives a legitimate answer to who she wants, who she thinks is going to win the Battle Royal. And she says Lyra Valkyria, and she pumps up Lyra Valkyria like she's a babyface.
Mm-hmm. But then obviously she brings it down being like the heel that she is. But I love how she did it, because I was like, it's one of those like, it reminded me of when they asked Lyra, she's like, oh, this is the part when dodge the answer, right? That's what I kept thinking about. So I was waiting for her to dodge it, and then she goes, oh, Lyra, and I was like, she gave us a name. But I like how even she said, it's like, oh, she took me to the limit. She almost went to the tippy top, but she said, but I took her down. And I love how even
not the tippy top, the tiffy top.
Oh, the tiffy top. Anyway, I like how even like while putting her up, she also had her way of bringing her down also by being that heel. Like she had a good combination of it, and I love how she did it here. I was like, this is better than I thought it was gonna. Did not expect that from her.
Mark's getting back to the Blair Davenport match, and I kind of skipped through it, so I'll give it. He says he disagrees. I thought this was a good idea, letting her have some sort of offense against someone that keeps attacking them. Although I thought Blair came out looking great. I agree. Blair comes out looking great regardless, whether it's 3 minutes, whether it's 30 seconds. I thought that you could run through some of the lower talents. In Dani Palmer, who's brand new, she runs through Dani Palmer in 30 seconds. You then give her Astrid, what's her name? Wendy Chu. and you let maybe Wendy Chu lasts 3 minutes. And you build to the people who she's attacked who are still around, being able to go longer and longer till you get to the most obvious of obvious things, which is her versus Roxanne Perez. Because she literally attacked Roxanne 2 weeks ago. Right before Battleground, she attacked Roxanne.
Yep. And if you notice, though, aside from what happened in the main event, they kind of seem they like kind of mention it in passing, but it's almost like kind of forget that it happened because they barely mention it, they barely highlight it. And I thought it was weird, but I'm thinking it's just because they wanted us not to focus on that, but focus first on Dani and then now on Roxanne.
Yeah, and I guess that's fine. Like I said, I'm not overly angry that the match was 3 minutes. I just was hoping for something different, because I think that would have been a better story to tell. But NXT's been doing well with their storytelling, although I question the main event storytelling, but we'll get there. Blair will have some great matches. And yeah, Blair is fantastic. Blair is going to have incredible matches. Blair will be the one who dethrones Tiffany when it's needed. Maybe. I don't... We'll have to wait and see. It depends where they put Tiffany. Because if she's still a heel, I don't think Blair makes a whole lot of sense. I think it... To be honest, I still think it's Roxanne. I think Roxanne gets round 2 with the championship at some point in the next 6 months. Or you have a returning Nikita Lyons. Yeah, Nikita Lyons. It makes sense.
No.
For those who want to ask questions, next... my buddy has jumped in and says, the Cora Jade. We'll get to her later. For those who want to ask Tiffany Stratton questions, you can go onto her Twitter and go ahead and use the question Ask Tiffany. And your question may be asked tomorrow during the NXT Snapchat special Up Next, I think it's called. Yes, Nikita Lyons is coming back at some point soon. Because like I said, I could see Nikita Lyons coming back, having 3 or 4 months of a push, and then being able to dethrone Tiffany and having a back and forth. Because eventually that title can flip-flop again once they get some consistency with it again. We don't have a graphic for this, but it's Trick versus Baron Corbin. And I'm gonna put Astrid out here for a minute. Astrid, do you want to reveal to the people what you messaged me 3/4 of the way through this match when talking about this match?
I don't remember now.
All right. I have the receipt. I shall.
I think it's because I kind of said in a way, I don't remember the exact words, but maybe I'll probably end up quoting it anyway. I think it was the part that I says like nothing like major has happened, like for me to write notes and be like, oh wow, this happened or they did this and that. I'm not saying the match was bad. I just didn't have anything like really type up for my notes. I'm like, I'm enjoying it, but I don't know what to say.
Yeah, your
That's
words
pretty much
were,
it.
I don't know what to say for this match. It's not bad, but there's nothing I can highlight. My exact words back were, Trick's best match, nothing outstanding, just a solid TV match. Trick is being taught by Baron Corbin how to have a big-time match. This is Trick's best match by leaps and bounds. Baron Corbin gave so much to Trick Williams in this match. And you know what? Trick made Baron Corbin look just as good as Baron Corbin made Trick look good. Baron Corbin looked like a dominating force in this match while constantly being on the back foot. The babyface Trick Williams. Never thought I'd get to say that. The babyface Trick Williams did so well in this match. And him and Baron Corbin taught him what his future is going to be, which is going to be a heel selling for his baby faces. Because they're roughly the same size, and they're roughly the same build, and they're both boxers by trade.
I was about to say that it's one of the rare times that I see somebody standing up to Corbin and being about his height. And we know from the past, I believe Corbin had been taught by people like Kane about like learning how to use his height during his wrestling. So it's nice to have Corbin in that position now that he can show other people like Trick Williams how to take advantage of that and how to use it. And I feel like that really helped Corbin in the ring. So it's nice to see him like, you know, passing on that torch and having that lesson to Trick to begin with.
Corbin sold for him, and Mark says Corbin sold for him, and it helped them. I agree. The best wrestling matches are the matches where everybody sells for everybody, everybody looks great, and at the end of the day, Baron Corbin hits both his finishers 1, 2, 3. That's exactly what needed to happen here. That's exactly what did happen here. Trick looks great in defeat. He needed to lose, and he did. And we get to move on telling the story about Baron Corbin versus Carmelo Hayes. It was perfect storytelling without having to do anything. They went out there and they had a solid, 10-minute match? But it was good for TV. It was good for TV. Yes, they didn't do the flip-de-doos that make AEW so demandingly popular and everybody loves it and it's a gift machine. But you know what they did do? Trick Williams got his knee worked over. Trick Williams fought back. Baron Corbin fought in shorts, which I don't ever remember seeing for the longest time. Baron Corbin looked like a badass for the first time in a long time. And at the end of the day, Baron Corbin is going to make Carmelo Hayes more than Braun Breaker ever did.
Mm-hmm.
I
Agreed.
wish the battleground match was Corbin versus Hayes as opposed to Braun versus Hayes, because I think it would have been better for Carmelo to have had that match first. I don't think Braun really does anything for Carmelo because they, as much chemistry as they have in the ring, they don't work well together. Whereas Baron Corbin versus Carmelo Hayes is going to be insane.
Oof.
Because Corbin is going to have the way to let Mello kind of flop around and like slip out of him and really get the things going. But Corbin is big enough, tough enough, and strong enough that he can beat down on Mello. But it's believable that Mello is going to be able to overpower him, beat him, slam him. All the things that are a little bit less believable when it comes to Braun Breaker. Again, one man's opinion. I could be wrong.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm like, I love Corbin. I was trying to find even the post that I had from like years ago when I think it was a promo that he said he didn't have any fans. So I tweeted at him. I was like, well, you got one fan because I love you in NXT already. And I remember he replied back to me at that moment. He was a heel and I was not expecting a reply at all. So for me, he's always been one of the like people that has been like one of my favorites no matter what. Just to see him highlighted this way, I'm all for it. Love it.
We got in the hot seat podcast saying free agents on the show or anyone on the main roster makes things interesting and so cool in NXT. Agreed. Mm-hmm. And this is the thing that you can do with people like Baron Corbin and Ali, and we'll get to it more with Ali. You can send them down there while they've got nothing going on, and opposed to them just losing every week or being in a backstage thing. Like, does anybody remember the fact that like 4 weeks ago, right after the draft, Baron Corbin lost in 5 seconds to Cameron Grimes? Because I bet most people forgot the fact that Cameron Grimes beat Baron Corbin a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Dara Amazing says tag team match Corbin and Braun versus Carmelo and the chef who roasted Baron on TikTok.
Oh my God.
I love Baron's TikTok, man. That dude's fantastic. Corbin is awesome. Wholeheartedly agree, Rob. They need to use Corbin more, in my opinion. I agree. Mm-hmm. This is a group of people who really like Baron Corbin, who think he's worthwhile, who think it's worth keeping an eye on Baron Corbin. So make sure that you keep doing that. NXT is going to do what they need to do to make Baron Corbin feel important. But remember, this dude's going to lose a lot of matches as they go through this. Like, he's going to lose some of these matches. So don't forget that part. Corbin also, as he's leaving the ring, he says he's headed to SmackDown to qualify for Money in the Bank. And if Ilya wants more, he'll be back next week. And I'm like, yay, more Baron Corbin next week.
Yes.
Nathan Frazier has an episode of his crappy TV show.
What is that?
But the best part of this was that he has a new special senior international correspondent in Dragon Lee. Right. And Dragon Lee has a top 5 list of names for the names of the group.
Noam's group is what they go.
Now, I've called them the party because all of them have party gimmicks. And Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, the only good thing they can do is party because Lord knows they can't wrestle. We saw that tonight. Number 5, 2 awful chat show hosts plus 2. The Oro Mensa experience. This one popped me. This one really popped me because of the Viking Raiders. Mm-hmm. That one really got me. I really like that one. The Jakara Jackson 5 -1. It was hard to get exact pictures of the exact moment with some of these like little like throw-ins. So some of them don't have it. The long lost legend of Lash Legend. I wish Legend was still more lost. That would have been great.
Oh gosh.
And Noam's Rent-A-Friends. Yeah, those were great.
Yeah, the Jakara Jackson 5 is the one that got me.
They all got me. Like, they were all really, really good. It was fantastic. I greatly appreciated all of them. I also thought it was great that we had Noam that we had Nathan Frazier in this moment also challenge for a Heritage Cup match next week.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think Noam Dar accepted. I don't know.
Yeah, I got
I'll
an
be
announcement for next
honest.
week already.
Okay. I was gonna say, I'll be honest, I don't remember what the hell happened there with that one. So Ali's backstage and he's talking about being free agent Ali, and he's talking about how he has the pen now, he's the writer, and he's gonna write the chapter of Champion Ali. Wes Lee comes up and he's excited and he wants to talk to him, and he's about to potentially, it seems like, offer him a chance at the North American Championship. To which Ali says, nope, I've got to earn that, and I'm going to start here tonight with Joe Gacy. And if you're still the champion, maybe one day me and you can go at it. And I was like, foreshadowing. I like this. No, basic, easy.
Yeah.
Yes, I rated from my own personal channel where I was streaming tonight to get some stream hours to go ahead and throw it in there. Don't worry, the stable will be legend. Wait for it. Dairy. No, they will be forgotten. Nobody will remember them. And the only one of them to do anything in the rest of this business will be Noam Dar. Because hopefully, no, Ed, be nice. We don't root for people to lose their jobs. We don't root for people to lose their jobs. Hopefully I won't have to see them anymore. Is that better? Is that more appropriate?
Kind of.
We got Mustafa Ali versus Joe Gacy next. Astrid, why don't you go ahead and talk about this match?
It was a match, and it happened. I'm kidding.
It
No, this is another one that just like, Baron and Trick for me, I really didn't have notes on it. It's just that moment of like, once Ali wins, we get the Dia doing, going on the attack, and we have, Wes and Tyler coming to assist Ali. But again, it was like, I feel like the match in itself was, I should have timed it because it felt super short to me. And it was one of those, like I said, nothing major happened that I could say, oh, this was amazing. The match wasn't bad, but it just like one of those moments of like, this is more towards like furthering the storyline of Gacy in the way he's like trying to go back to like his way and concentrating on his way. He even says that later on of like, kind of like, I failed the group and I failed this, and I've been failing at that, and I feel short in this, and I feel lost at this time. So just for there's that storyline of like his mindset after losing not only a battleground but losing to Ned as well. But it was more about the storytelling of Gacy and his mindset, rather than the match itself at this point.
Yeah, and Mark comes through. I felt the thing after the match was more important than the match. Yeah, this was to get everybody excited about having Mustafa Ali here, to have him have a match, to get a gauge of how comfortable they are. And by the way, based on this match, these two are going to have a banger, by the way, at some point. Yeah. Like, the way they worked in this match, this is the TV match that you have before you have the absolute 5-star classic that's about to happen between the four of them.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we get. I think we get at the, whatever it's called, the Great American Bash. I think that's the North American title match. The Great American Bash is probably the four of them in a match.
Yeah, the multi-man.
Yeah. There's nothing fantastic about it. Nothing great about it, but it wasn't bad, and it furthered the story. And if you can do storytelling while having an actual match and not make the match feel boring, then you've done your job. Because while I felt a little cheated that the match was 3 or 4 or 5, 10 minutes, whatever it might be, shorter than I had anticipated, I didn't feel cheated like, oh, they promised me Mustafa Ali versus Joe Gacy, and there was interference, and the match didn't get finished. No, Ali hit the 450, got the win, 1, 2, 3. Ali goes over, and then the dyad attack, and then the 6-man's built. And I'm like, great. Building stories off of things that are happening. Nothing happens in a vacuum. It's all part of this one story. It's good. They're doing good things.
Yeah, it's the beginning of that chapter.
Yeah, every book. How Astrid, you're an author. You're not an author. Well, you are, but you aren't. You read lots of authors. You read lots of books. You review books. How good would a story be if the story was 1 chapter long? If the entire story was 1 chapter, how good would the story be?
Barely. It touches the surface and that's it.
Yeah. So this is chapter 1 of the story of Mustafa Ali in NXT. And the book might not be long, but at least we're going to get more things to make it feel important.
Hey, we got novellas, and those books are good too. You never know.
Yeah. You also got Spanish soap operas. And by the way, if y'all ain't seen a Spanish soap opera, dude, toss on your local Spanish channel and just watch that shit, because there's nothing better than a good Spanish telenovela. Because those people go hard for the dumbest shit. Like, those like, you think American soap operas are lazily written and cockamamie. You've seen nothing until you've seen a Spanish telenovela.
Not the same.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Are they not the craziest, wildest things on television?
Yeah. That's why when I started watching them here, it's like, I said, what is this? No.
We get JBBJ backstage with Fallon Henley. And then Idris Sanofe and Malik Blade show up, and they're trying to put a stop to this whole partners need to fight thing. And I'm like, oh my god, are we still doing this garbage?
It's French garbage. It's garbage.
No, it's not French garbage. We're not going to make it feel like it's something good. It's bad. It's just
I'm trying to make you feel better.
It's just poo-poo. They ask a few questions to Briggs and Jensen, to which obviously Briggs and Jensen, who have been partners for the last year and a half, obviously know about each other, because it's what's his favorite color? What's his birthday? They've been friends for a year and a half. Of course they know those things.
What's my birthday, Ed?
It's on your Twitter or your Instagram or something.
Dang it. No. Terrible. That's not the answer. You should say it out loud.
We're not best friends. We're not.
Damn, that hurt.
We're good friends. We're very good friends. You know what? I'll know it coming up in July when I have to do all kinds of stuff.
Uh-oh.
What do you mean, uh-oh? We're gonna...
Thank you, Mark.
Are you still raging?
No.
Or you...
We haven't got to that part, Lauren. It's too early.
I've chosen to wait until the end to see if my rage has calmed down. So we'll see at the end whether or not I rage. I still might. Wow, Ed. I'm a delightful person. Yeah, ranting. I knew where you were going. Raging, ranting. I was a little off the collar in the beginning, where I threatened in the Slack chat to quit the show. I'll be honest.
Do I get Eduardo Papas Fritas instead because you're quitting?
Maybe. Depends on if Parrish can send me the mask or not.
But now talking about rants though, if you haven't seen Ed's rant, you gotta go on OLE's YouTube channel. It's golden. For the 4 best minutes of your life, I promise you. You won't regret it.
And while we're here and talking about that, youtube.com/ourlocalestablishment. You can go on Twitter and Instagram at OLE Podcast, and it's on there too. You can find us here on the Twitch, as you obviously know, at twitch.com/ourlocalestablishment. You can find us on the TikTok at ourlocalestablishment as well. Astrid will be doing TikTok dances there at some point in the near future.
No promises.
Yeah, you will. I don't know what the hell's... I mean, there's a reason to quit the show. Thea Hale's the #1 contender for the NXT Women's Championship. That's a reason to want to quit the show.
Should get a match in like 2 weeks. No, I think he 1000%. No, I think he agrees with me about the rant part. That's what Mark is agreeing to.
Also, Barry says, never tell anyone your favorite color or your pet's names. They're after your security question answers.
You can answer.
He's not wrong. Barry's not wrong. Getting back to this horrible segment, Tank and Hank show up, and they're talking about, I think it was music.
Yep.
I don't know. I tried to not listen to them, but that's fine.
Because Tank, he confessed that he's a Swiftie. Woohoo, fellow Swiftie. That's all I'm saying.
Gallus then shows up to do something of importance in this segment. And tells Anofe and Blade that it doesn't matter how good of a tag team partners they are. It's not going to matter. They're never going to dethrone Gallus, which is all facts. Or as Bobby Fish would say, where's the lie? Yeah. Also, bad Mark. No, it's fine. Lauren says, Where are the questions coming from? Are you all on a different YouTube?
We're on 3 Twitches at the same time, Lawrence.
We're on two, we're only on 2 now. I rated with my Twitch, so we're only on 2 Twitches now.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Put you in your. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine. It is what it is. We then get Mel's favorite moment of the week. So Mel, if you're here, we're now talking about Eddie Thorpe for about 5 minutes. So go ahead and listen. Eddie Thorpe is another really good match. I don't understand his character. I don't understand what they're doing with him.
No.
But they're putting him out there and having matches, and he won again, so yay. But he won again because, what is his name? Kemp had his foot on the ropes. Yeah, Damon Kemp had his foot on the ropes. And, yeah. Eddie Thorpe is winning by cheating. I don't know how he cheated. I still don't understand how he cheated in the first match.
No.
I understand why Damon Kemp's mad about this one. I still don't understand why he's mad about the first one.
The thing about this too, as I was telling you as we were watching this too, it's the storyline that he's just winning at random of like these like unexpected times with like the most random moves because they're not even his finishers, and then he just wins there like, oh, the match is over. Is this what's happening? Because that's all I gather from this.
Yeah, so it seems like they're trying to tell the story that he's finding ways to just beat, you know, Damon Kemp, and that Damon Kemp's not happy about it. And that Damon Kemp's finding reasons why he lost. Excuses for losing. It's fine. It is what it is. I just wish that we were getting more vignettes into Eddie Thorpe. Getting more into... Because as Mark says, he's good in the ring, but who is he? Like, they're not giving up... Again, like Lyra Valkyria. If we trash them about Lyra Valkyria, we have to do the same here for Eddie Thorpe. Yeah. At least Eddie's having good in-ring matches, so there's a little bit more of a pass. But you've got to tell us who these people are and what they're doing. Every wrestler has a motivation. Yep. We know what Oro and crew are doing. We know why they're here, and we see them next. Well, actually, we saw them before the match finished, but I wanted to finish with the match first before I went back to them, because I really don't want to talk about them. But the party's backstage, and Mackenzie tries to get information about whether or not they're going to accept Nathan's challenge, and they start talking about nonsense. And Noam Dar tries to big up 3 people who shouldn't be in NXT. But, you know, we got to big up...
They have unlimited potential. You didn't hear that part? Come on, Ed.
Oh, you know what? I lost all respect for all of this when I heard their name. Their name, for anybody who missed it, is Metaphor.
Nope, I'm out.
That's the name of the group. Metaphor.
Yay. No.
Breathe.
It was okay. Now it got bad. But why?
So he talks about how Oro Mensah has been overlooked and underutilized and how he needs to be put on another level. And Oro's like, yeah, he got me on a premium live event. No. He made you a corner man in a premium live event. He didn't actually get you on the card in a premium live event. He talked about Action Miss Jackson and how she's something, but then I lost what the hell he was trying to say. I don't know. Because, my God, that ring gear was blindingly bright. Do you remember what he said about Action Miss Jackson?
The funny thing is, like, I forgot that they won the Battle Royal, and I see her with the gear, and I said, she has a match tonight. I forgot.
Dara's right. I mean, I'm still on board with Jakara Jackson 5.
Right? That's my favorite one.
You know what? I love the club. I love the party, the club, all that kind of stuff. But, man, I really, really, really love the Oro Mensah experience. I really do. I think it's funny. We got Bobby jumping in. Hello, Bobby. How's the night going? Well,
you're gonna have a clip for later on to put on YouTube after the show ends.
No, I'm gonna try.
I'm warning you right now, Bobby. Stick to stay here.
I'm gonna try and be professional when I talk about the main event. And y'all see what I
Stay
mean.
here, Bobby.
when
I'm
we
letting
get
you
to
know
it.
ahead of time. Warning. You're gonna need it.
Gigi Dolan is on the phone with her brother until she's taunted by Kiana James, to which Dabakato saves us all from this garbage that was happening backstage by walking in front of both of them and taking up the entirety of my TV screen. Am I wrong that he saved us from all the garbage that was that backstage promo?
Yeah, the only thing I was thinking, this is the moment that I automatically knew these two are gonna go at it in the battle royal. Good to know ahead of time.
Yeah, they did a really good job of telling us who was going to be in the final, like, couple people in this battle royal throughout the show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. Bobby's rant says last week's rant was very professional. Yeah, this week's wasn't going to be. I'm hoping that if I save it to the end of the show, that I'll have calmed down.
You're almost there.
We got Dabakato versus Scripps. The entirety of my notes is Dabakato versus Scripps. Scripps wins. Axiom interferes. Can we just have
And
the
then-
2-on-1 match?
And I was quoting as I forgot whose entrance it was that was happening at that moment. And
was
I
Scripps.
said, where is
Yeah.
it?
You said in the middle of Scripps' entrance that you thought that Axiom was going to...
I was like, yeah, is Axiom gonna come out? That's the first thing I said in here. Is like, Axiom? That's all I see here happening. Yeah, I said this is Axiom saves Scripps. That's all I put. And I was like, I knew. This comment by Margaret is the best thing. How does the big man lose to a roll up? How? By a guy who's the same size as his leg. It's because Axiom is there.
Did you also know how they literally broke their backs to not show us the trampoline? They did everything they could to make sure we didn't see the trampoline that Scripps jumped on to get high enough to be able to hit the elbow to the face of Dabakato. I'm not pleased. There's really nothing more to be said about this, is there?
No. Darmacy sums that all up.
Obviously, somebody who watches ups and downs, the roll-up is the most devastating move in all of professional wrestling. Simon Miller gives it a golden up every time. We have the backstage... We mentioned it earlier, but the backstage segment between Joe Gacy and the rest of the Schism, where Joe Gacy's sad because he keeps losing and he feels like he's letting the group down, as Astrid said earlier. But the group does a really good job. Ava reigned first, and then the Dyad keep jumping in and talking about it. And the Dyad said, "We won, so you won." Because we're all part of this. Ava also says that no tree can be stable off of one root. There needs to be more roots. To which I'm like, okay. Are we not going to get rid of the Dyad then? Because I thought that's where we were headed, and then we're not. I don't know what's going on with the four of them. It's good though. Joe Gacy did well in this. The rest of them did very well. Ava again continues to be compelling on the microphone. She continues to be a vital part of this group. They would be failing without her.
Yeah,
and poor Joe Gacy would be alone in 3 months without her. So I'm very glad they have her with him. But again, there's not really a lot to say about this.
You ready?
We get the backstage segment. I'm going to skip a bit and then go back to the Battle Royal. We get the backstage segment between the three baby faces for next week's six-man tag, where Ali basically says that Nathan Frazier, that Tyler Bate needs to be able to challenge Wesley for the North American Championship one-on-one. So what we're going to do is next week we're going to have the six-man tag, and then after that, these two are going to go at it, and then we'll see what happens from there. And I'm like, great. So does that mean the special edition of NXT is in 2 weeks? Because they're signing a North American title match, and if they want me to believe that Tyler Bate is beating Wes Lee, then they better make it at least a special episode, so that I can.
Which I'm thinking probably the same episode that Thea gets that title shot too, because she's not making it to a PLE. I'm sorry.
Can you imagine? The ticket sales running up this Friday? Tickets go on sale, and right now your main event match for that show that's booked is Tiffany Stratton versus Thea Hale, because they haven't booked Carmelo versus Corbin yet. We think it's coming, but we know that Thea Hale is the number one contender. Astrid, talk about the Battle Royal, because I can't do this.
Well, before that, they did confirm this part before the match officially started was Noah and Nathan for next week. Corvus, Dragunov, and the Sick Man tag as well. So those 3 matches got confirmed. What I mostly have is the order of like who got eliminated when. Oh yeah, that's true. I guess so. With the July 4th probably, but I don't know. We'll see. First we have. I'm guessing this was Brooklyn Barlow because I didn't even get to see her. Gigi takes her out like right when the match starts. I forgot who tried to eliminate Jakara, but Oro saves her by grabbing onto her. He puts her back on the apron. And then Ed's new favorite, Lola, gets eliminated by Cora Jade. Bye-bye early on. And then we have that interaction between Kiana and Gigi as, I look kind of going further to what happened earlier backstage. Gigi, it's get taken out by Kiana. Nothing surprising there. I figured this is gonna be like the other battle royal that we got. Like we're gonna have little storylines coming out of this now because I feel like they have nothing for most people. So now it's gonna be Kiana and Gigi for moving forward. And then Lash shakes out Kalani Jordan. I love how she was able to avoid it by going over the post, but obviously when you do something like that, you get eliminated right away. So she was out. Oregon saving Jakara once again. But then Diaz taking out Oro. I really thought she was eliminated this time because she went over kind of like the top, but they didn't count it. And then she takes out Oro. Lash is taking out Thea, and we had Jaleesa and Valentina, two of our favorite people as well, taking out Lash. You're not happy? No, they took her out.
Fine.
And then Jakar and Lash take both of them out after they've been eliminated. After Lash got eliminated. And then we got Lyra and Electra. That's when Electra gets eliminated. And we had Roxanne and Cora going at it. And then Roxanne just gives her a Russian leg sweep. And then Roxanne's outside. She's going to do the pop rocks to, I believe it was Blair. And then Tatum just moves Blair out of the way, saves her. And they show that partnership going forward now as Roxanne gets eliminated from the match as well. So we have Tatum and Blair just like hugging. They're like, "Oh, what's happening?" We have a new partnership now, and then we have JC and Roxanne there as well. We have the next interaction, and then I like how Cora of all people just says, "Get off of her," as Roxanne is going on JC for some reason. I thought that was odd. I don't know what that would be happening. I have Cora kicking out Lyra. Again, eliminated in the other person because she got eliminated last time by Lyra as well. And then we have the final 4, Fallon, Kiana, Cora, and Dana. This is what made me think of like they're giving it to either Fallon or Dana, thinking of like the faces in the match. That was like my thought process. And then we have Fallon taking out Kiana. The way that she landed was really brutal. And I hope she's okay. And I like how when she takes her, she goes, "Yeehaw, bitch," and she just goes inside the ring and she's doing it. I was like, I love Fallon. And then just as we have the 3 now, then we have Fallon kind of doing the tarantula kind of thing to Dana, but that's when Cora takes her out. So we have Cora and Dana left in the ring, and this is what Ed sends me a message like, "Oh, they're gonna give it to her," and here I am cheering for Cora. I mean for Dana, and I'm like thinking Dana's gonna get it. Go Dana. So we have these 2 going. All of a sudden, Thea returns for Ed's delight, and Cora's like kind of convinced Thea to work with her. Thea just eliminates both of them, and we get a Chase You celebration. And then we have, I think it was Gulak by the apron just celebrating and clapping that she won, and just making it seem like their training has worked. So yeah, that's how we end a little bit of the show with Thea celebrating. Now, Ed, what did you think about it?
This was a terrible battle royal. There are so many talented women in this NXT women's division. Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, hell, Fallon Henley, Lyra Valkyria, Kiana from accounting. Probably her fucking assistant G is probably a better wrestler than Thea Hale. And Dana Brooke, to be honest. I don't even know which version of Dana Brooke this is because I swear there's two different Dana Brookes. This is not the same physical Dana Brooke that was actually in NXT. It's a different person that was swapped out, and people just accept that it's the same person because nobody cares enough to actually see this. Why? Why on God's green earth do you look at your women's division and go, yeah, the one who's won one match in the entirety of her time on NXT television, because we're not counting Level Up, because I don't watch it and I don't care who wins on Level Up. She's won one match, and now she's somehow the NXT women's division #1 contender. They might as well not have a women's division anymore. Tiffany was right. They might as well just retire the title with Tiffany as the champion. Because if this is what they're going to do going forward, they don't need women's wrestling in NXT. I understand having a beatable first challenger. I get it. There are ways to have a beatable first champion, and then there are ways to... We'll get to Dar's comment in a moment. There are ways to have a beatable first champion, and then there's ways to have a joke. This feels like Impact booked this show more than NXT did. Because Thea Hale being #1 contender feels about as rational as an idea as Alex Shelley and what is his name? The stupid guy that won't die from the 90s who used to be a pirate. What's his name? Jean-Pierre Lafitte. PCO, that's the one. Like, the fact that the last 3 challengers for the upcoming NXT Women's Championship, and the last 2 challengers now for the Impact World Championship are going to be PCO, Alex Shelley, and Thea Hale. I have all the respect in the world for PCO. He doesn't belong anywhere near a world championship. I think Alex Shelley's great. He doesn't belong anywhere near a world championship. He never has. There's a reason why he was never in the world title picture before. Because he doesn't need to be. It was bad enough we had to watch Sabin. I'm sorry, I was never a fan of Sabin as world champion. The best part of the Sabin World Championship reign is the moment he won the title. The second best moment is the moment he lost the title. Sorry, not sorry.
You're not sorry. We know for sure.
I like Chris Sabin. I like the Motor City Machine Guns. But there are world champions, and then there's the Motor City Machine Guns. I just... So who's next? Lash Legend? The lady who... Yulisa had to stand there for a good 30 seconds to try to boot Lash Legend off the ropes because she fell down during the spot where she was supposed to be eliminated.
I know even now that you mentioned 2 things that I remembered as well. When Fallon was gonna do the blockbuster, she fell and she had to do it again. The crowd kind of reacted to that moment there. Trying to think of the other one that I was thinking. Next challenge.
Sure, why not? I mean, she makes as much sense as the one they have challenging now. Sorry, what was the second moment?
Oh, the timing. It was with Lyra. I know she was hanging from the ropes and she made it seem like she couldn't go over the ropes. I forgot who she was the lady. I don't remember. shoot, I don't remember who she was eliminated at that moment, but like she went up and it was JC and she wasn't there, so she had to go down and go up again, and then that's when JC was there, caught her by the legs and then took her out. But like
Yeah.
the timing there was off, and it had to be right there where the camera's at.
It's just you have talented people in this division who can be champions. Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez. Like, you don't have to have a 5-star match with Tiffany. You just have to have a one-off. Have Roxanne Perez challenge Tiffany Stratton and have Blair Davenport screw her. Like, it's not a hard thing to do. Why do we have to have Thea Hale? This is the biggest joke in the world.
The match is barely gonna have any time.
If I will say this here and now, this is the part Bobby can clip. If we're going to do the same thing we did with Lash Legend, if Thea Hale defeats Tiffany Stratton to win the championship, not if she wins by countout or by disqualification, if she wins the championship, I will not do this show anymore. The joke that I said in the Slack chat about that I quit will be a reality. And there will be no more taking over with Ed Fries. Astrid can still be here with another co-host, but Ed Fries will not be that co-host if I have to talk about Thea Hale, this current Thea Hale, as NXT Women's Champion.
Doubt it'll happen, but...
I do too, but you know what? It's just ridiculous.
And
Like,
going back to Dara's comment, to if you can, the 8-person tag is stand on the liver.
yeah, I mean, I guess she did win that too. That's true. I like Thea Hale, but I think Tiffany will remain I think Tiffany will remain champion for a long time too. But it doesn't mean you can't put her up against talented people who can actually challenge for the championship.
Oh, Mark.
Well, since you've announced it, we'll go ahead and do it. Astrid next week is going to be singing some Paramore and at a concert. Yes. So I will be joined by the one and only Marks Talks Wrestling next week, as he may be brief, but he may be a brief co-host next week, depending on how much Thea Hale we have to talk about. Dar Amazing, you were on NXT before in another life with us as a host. Maybe you can put your application in for Astrid in the event that Thea Hale wins the championship. Barry Monkey says, I was bored by tonight's NXT. That main event was just a highlight for me, as it was entertainingly terrible, whereas the rest just felt flat. I mean, I don't know. I think the rest of the show was good. Another classic Ed rant that sound. I was certain, and I'll be honest, I would have ranted had we done this at the top of the show. To pull back the curtain, I don't think Thea Hale is that terrible. I don't think she's talented. I don't think she's as awful as I make her out to be. I don't find her entertaining in any way, shape, or form. I feel like if I were Duke Hudson, I don't know if I could work with her, because her personality is so off-putting to me that I think I'd legitimately have an issue with it. That being said, she got here. She's doing the thing. People backstage think she has talent. The Chase U story is fantastic, and she's a vital part of the Chase U story, as much as I don't want her to be. Especially without Bodie Hayward. I play up a lot for the camera on certain people. But all of my opinions are pretty much what I believe. Do I think she should be the number one contender? No. There's no world in the universe that I believe Thea Hale right now should be the number one contender for any championship, let alone the NXT Women's Championship. I mean, Astrid, I can't be alone here. You must think this is a joke as much as I do, right? Like, all kidding aside and all joking aside, the fact that she's the number one contender is a joke.
I didn't describe it as a joke, but yeah, pretty much. It just, I know it was one of those moments that, like, because she left in the middle of the match, she kind of forget that she was in the match. But I honestly didn't think she was gonna win. Like, based on the people that were there in the last four, I was thinking it. Fallon would have been a good one, like a good start for Tiffany. That would have been a good back and forth. And then I kept thinking it would have been cool for Dana as well because she had nothing going on the main roster, so it would have been great for her at that highlight in NXT. And it's like you never know the kind of magic she might have with Tiffany. But I was like, Thea, I was like, why? All I'm thinking is if they do have when they do have their match, first is scenario, if they do have it on a special Tuesday, the match is gonna last, give it 5 minutes or less, maybe. So it's like I'm not excited to see that. And if she does make it, which is a scenario B, if she does make it to the PLE, which I doubt it'll be that long, I imagine it being one out of maybe the only or maybe one out of two women's matches, and it's barely gonna have any time either way. So I'm like, it makes me less excited to watch it, thinking about it from that aspect too. So no, I'm not looking forward to it.
In the Hot Seat podcast saying, honestly thought Dana had the match won. I agree. And I would have been fine with Dana. Like, I joke, Dana's not my favorite either, but at least she can have a match. Like, she can have a competent match with pretty much anybody. She's not great, but she's good enough. Tia Hale, yeah, is exactly what I see. She has Scrappy Doo type energy. And as Astrid can attest to you, I'm not a big fan of Scrappy Doo type energy. That's a deep cut for a couple people in the chat, and only the couple people. Nothing is... No, that's not true. Like... Dana tries real hard. She should get the I Tried award because she tries. She's not good, but she tries. I wouldn't mind her being a challenge because at least it would be a step up in competition for Tiffany with the sole fact that she's been on the main roster for the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Has she been a valuable member of the main roster? No. But she's been there, so at least
She has that experience that Tiffany doesn't have, so yeah.
And technically, you can say that Tiffany Stratton beats a former champion on the main roster. So there's a positive reason to have Dana win that match. Mark says, I think it's a test for Tia to see if she can handle in the ring with someone that's ahead of her. I think that's... Everybody's ahead of her. Astrid is ahead of her. And Astrid's not even in-ring talent. No offense. I love you to death, honey.
I know.
But you're not an in-ring... And yes, I think... So the Drew Gulak and Dempsey thing, I think, has nothing to do with this. I think the Drew Gulak and Dempsey thing is all more to continue telling the evolved story of Chase University. When Duke thought he was going to be taking over the university. And he's like, oh, well, what better way to stick it to Andre Chase than to bring in Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey. To now see that Charlie Dempsey and Drew Gulak are having a positive effect on Tia Hale is solely to continue the story with Duke Hudson and Andre Chase against these two.
Plus, you can totally see her next week saying, oh, look, the training has paid off because, look, I went to training and then I won the match.
Yep.
And then it'll be like, oh, look, she never did that when she was in Chase. You just with Duke and Chase, separate and together. So that's why I like that aspect of having Gulak out there just clapping for her because it's like, oh, you're seeing the work pay off for them as coaches with her winning that match. And even like at the beginning.
It should have been 4 months down the road.
Yeah. And it goes back to what happened at the beginning of the show. He's like, oh, whatever you're working on right now, that's not going to help you in the Battle Royal, was what Duke Hudson told her from the get-go. But she's like, oh, no, but, they're treating me this way, and this is how it's going. And look, at the end, she's like, I've been learning from them, and I won. It never happened when I was under the umbrella. And that's what you're going to get in the next couple of weeks of, like, how you're going, the training's working, so might as well keep going with the training, because that way I'm going to beat Tiffany. That's going to be her mindset as a character going forward. And then when she loses, then that's going to be a different story.
I'm NXT, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed that Tiffany's first challenger is Tia Hale. I'm just disappointed. You have so many talented women in that locker room, and that's the choice you make. And I understand giving young competitors a test. I totally get that. But they should have earned it with at least 5 wins on television. Like, I'm serious. At least 5 wins on TV before you get a championship match. It's not like they pulled her out of the crowd like they did Santino Marella.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I understand what the story is. I don't understand how we're supposed to believe it. In wrestling, wrestling is a funny, silly, dumb thing. Let's be honest. It's about storytelling. It's action and adventure movie wrapped around with storytelling. But you have to surrender your disbelief in order to really believe that this is real and that these things matter. Tia Hale winning this match is so far from beyond just my disbelief. It's my reality and my logic that I have to get rid of in order to believe that she honestly can win this match. Not only the match against Tiffany, but the Battle Royal. That being said, like I said, we're going to have Mark's Talks Wrestling here next week to fill in for Astrid, as Astrid is
1 week only. Do not get used to it, Mark.
Mark is going to potentially be the permanent co-host of the show. We were joking that it would be because I'd replace Astrid, but honestly, it may be replacing me at this point. So it's maybe a tryout to see if you can take my spot. But no, it'll be fun to have Mark here for 1 week to talk about NXT. Astrid's going to be rocking out to Paramore. There's going to be more F. Ron DeSantos chat from Miss Haley Williams in the in the songs. Because I saw that from some of her other shows that weren't in Florida. I can't wait for her to do that when she is in Florida, where Mr. Ron DeSantos is from. And by the way, I echo those sentiments. Fuck Ron DeSantos.
Agreed.
Astrid, why don't you go ahead, because you've got 2 pieces of news. Which one do you want to go first? Happy news or sad news?
I guess we'll go the bittersweet ones, because it's not sad, it's bittersweet. And then I'll wrap it up with the good news. But yeah, especially since I got Barry here, which is the person that is there most of the time. Long story short, Making an Impact is gonna go on a little hiatus for the moment. Unfortunately, for those of you that don't know, most of us have full-time jobs outside of this thing. So yeah, I've been working a lot, and it's been hard for me to make the show on time and watch Impact on time and to stay awake long enough to do the show. So yeah, it's gonna go on a little hiatus for the time being until I'll see what happens with my job and my schedule going forward. So I don't have a date when we return, if we do, of what we're gonna do. I know Cody and I will have to have a discussion about it, see what we're gonna end up doing about it. But for now, it's gonna go on a little break. So at the moment, you're only gonna see me doing Taking Over and Ladies Fashion Showcase every 2 weeks, as we usually do. So yeah, that feels weird to say, because I'm used to doing my Thursday shows, and even Ed can tell you that even when I'm not feeling great, I'll be here like I am tonight. So it feels kind of weird to say that out loud. But yeah, and then the good news is, let me see if I can find my little graphic thingy. I'll be doing the panel Women of Color in Wrestling at the Florida SuperCon in Miami at the end of the month. So if you are going to Florida SuperCon, you will see me there at the panel. If you're nearby, if you're in Miami Beach and want to stop by, then you know where to go. Yeah, really excited for this opportunity. I've been wanting to do this panel since it was announced the first time. So really excited for the opportunity to be able to do it now. Yeah, it's just incredible thing like this is happening. So yeah, really happy for it. Just a lot of going on. So this is one of the things that I'm working on, and this is why Making an Impact is going on a little hiatus at the moment as well. So yeah, they're really cool now. Your turn. You're muted. I think you forgot.
Yay for SuperCon! Like I said, me and Mark, it's going to be so much fun to have Mark here.
Please
and
do.
To annoy me in person.
Please do for me.
I have buttons to take care of that. It's fine. He'll only, unlike you, I can do this to him and he can't bring himself back. Unlike you. True. If I get sick of listening to him, I can do this to you, but you can just hit the button like you just did, and you come back. No, No, in all much, it's going to be great. Mark's a good guy. I'm excited. He was just on a soccer show with Bobby. It was a soccer show. I know it was a soccer show because
That's
the NFL season hasn't started yet, so football hasn't happened yet. So it was a soccer show. Soccer. With that being said, all the wonderful things that you can see on Ole this week are in this little video, and then we'll be back to go ahead and do our final plugs, and then we're going to go ahead and raid a friend of ours. So we'll do this first, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do for the raid. So everybody stay with us. Apparently, we're going to raid the video bro Bobby Munson, as Bobby Munson's going to be playing some Diablo 4. So we can go ahead and... No, soccer show. Round ball, little black and white spots, soccer ball. All right, Bobby's not quite ready, so we are going to go ahead and raid our good friend Allison K. So, for everybody, just give me a moment while I press more buttons.
Wait, where can the people find you? You have it inside of yours.
Oh, people can find me at edfries12584 on Twitter, and you can find me at edfries2002 on Twitch. I am almost monetized, so if people could go ahead and follow me.
Congrats on the followers, though.
Thank you. I got to the 50 followers, so I will be able to do that. So, yes, go ahead and do all that kind of fun stuff and follow me there. Astrid, where can the people find you?
You can find me again, not next week, but hopefully Tuesday after, doing Taking Over. I believe this Friday, Lamel and I will be doing Ladies Fashion Showcase. So we got that going on. And like I said, if you're at Florida SuperCon at the end of the month, you can watch me doing a panel for the first time ever. I'm going to be freaking out.
Yeah. You think Astrid's nervous and doesn't talk a lot on this. I can't wait till the people are asking her direct questions. It's going to be great. Until then, everybody, have a great day. Enjoy. More buttons. Hold on. Everyone is watching me.